5 years ago, David, I wouldn't. I would not want any of my sisters to date who I was 5 years ago, even though I was a Christian. Yeah. So if that's what you're looking for, I would say what level of Christian are you looking for? How sold out is he to God? Yeah. Because that's a whole other thing.
Are we still going? Because I have something to say about that.
Uh-oh. Yeah. Uh-oh.
I have a question.
I need to get on.
No, because I just wanted to ask a question. Do you guys see men... you have something in your eye. Do you guys see men in the church and you see them and you're like, no, that's a knucklehead, and I know he's talking to that girl, and that this is a red flag, this is like, she needs to be warned, she needs to run away. Do you ever experience that?
Yeah. I think you see people who are, when you're from the outside looking in, you can usually see an accident or a train wreck before it happens. Mm-hmm. But when you're on the train, you don't see it.
Do you speak on it?
That's hard.
Well, it's a tough one.
Yeah, how well do I know the guy?
Yeah.
You know, I think for me, and then also too, like, how close am I to the girl? Because like, there's some relationships that I have where I really, they're not just my sister in Christ. Like, they're kind of like my sister. Yeah. And I would almost, there's a part of me that will be protective of that. And I would either ask the hard questions if the relationship is like safe enough for me to ask those questions, or I would really encourage her to be asking those questions to other people. And if I have the relationship with the guy, I would, and I have the relationship to kind of speak into that, I would kind of just be like, really, are you sure you're ready to date? Yeah. Are you sure you're willing to put... There was a moment, one of my friends, one of the guys that I really consider like a close mentor of mine, that really gets to speak into my life, that he kind of had one of those like real talk moments with me and just said like, are you really ready? Are you really sure? All these things that you're doing right now are leading up to something, and if it isn't what you want, you're going to do a lot of damage to this girl. Yeah. Are you really ready? And so, you know... What
did that do for you? What did that do to you?
You know, I think it just mitigates the risk. So he could see, like, he knew my past, he knew what I was capable of if I didn't do it right. And so, you know, I think it really had me kind of do that reality check myself. And I think, like, there's a very real risk, like, at any moment, in different contexts, Andy Stanley says we're all a moment away from an absolute train wreck. Like, one mistake can just ruin absolutely everything you've built. It's all it takes. And so I think it's just like really realizing that, and even having those guys in your life or people around you that are just going to be like, okay, you got to know how close you are to really just tearing this thing you're trying to build down, and just making sure that there's somebody watching your back in those things. And I think, like, because we can always see it, and like I'm a moment away from a train wreck as much as like any of the rest of us are, but the reason I'm not is because like God's got my back. I've got friends that have my back, and like I'm making sure that like that's my priority. And so I think, you know, we just have to be making sure that we keep everybody focused on the right thing. Because if you go in and start talking about like, well, homie, like, you know what you used to be. If you do this again, if you like, you start speaking into like the negativity or the risk, then like you're almost creating a self-fulfilling prophecy. But you know, if you really just focus people on God and not make it about that, like, then it doesn't have to be about the train wreck. Great. And so, you know, I think like we can all see that in a sense, but we're all this close to it. You know, and so it's kind of like take the plank out of your eye before you like judge the twig in another guy's. Like, we don't really have a great place to speak into that, but we just got to make sure that we're doing our part for the people we're accountable to.